Thank you, Chairman Smith and Ranking Member Neal. And of course, Ambassador Tai, I always enjoy seeing you. I'm just a little bit grumpier today, so I'll apologize ahead of time, but I have been so disappointed with the feckless trade agenda promoted by President Biden and his administration. Even the meager IPEF agenda fell apart under incredibly light pressure from liberal senators who were more concerned about facing stiff competition in their reelection bids than doing the right thing for their constituents. In our hearing last year, I said that China is eating our lunch when it comes to competing for trade and investment around the world. Unfortunately, they've gone from eating our lunch to eating our breakfast, eating our dinner, and probably our dessert. The United States is losing ground at every step. This administration is more focused on woke, DEI, climate, and other big labor agendas than more meaningful trade policy. And you know I like trade policy. Nothing in this year's National Trade Estimate Report gives me confidence that this administration is committed to even the basics of trade. There have been no trade deals, no talks to expand free trade agreements, no export control markets, and no increases in market access under President Biden's leadership. Compared to China's ambitious agenda, the United States is falling behind in every region in the world. China's winning in our backyard of South and Central America. They're building on years of gains in Africa. China is establishing footholds through Central Asia, Middle East, and making inroads with our own European allies. Finally, they are outcompeting us completely in Asia through their regional comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Ambassador Tai, China has an extremely aggressive trade strategy in the Indo-Pacific, basically their dressed-up trade version of the Belt and Road. They recently concluded that RCEP renegotiations with 15 countries. They're trying to join CPTPP, and they're working to conclude a digital negotiation with some of our closest allies in the region. This has real consequences for our manufacturing companies, our farmers, and our energy producers in my district. If a company in Vietnam wants to import an information and communication technology and service product from the U.S., it pays 35% tariff. If it imports the same thing from China, it's zero. If a company in Cambodia wants to import a dairy product from the U.S., it pays 35.7% tariff. If it imports the same thing in China, it's zero. And if a company in Japan wants to import petroleum from the U.S., it pays 18%. If it imports it from China, it pays zero. Unfortunately, through all of these countries, even though they are in IPEF, it doesn't sound like these issues are on the table. Ambassador Tai, do you think this situation is in our best competitive interest? And if not, why isn't it part of IPEF?
Well, Congresswoman Miller, it's always nice to see you, and I'm sorry you're grumpy, and I'm even more sorry that you cannot see our trade policy, and you've described it as feckless. I think that's entirely unfair, but you are obviously entitled to your opinion and your adjectives. Let me pick up on some of the dynamics that you've identified. It is true that China is a very fierce competitor in the global economy. So let's start there. We have common cause as Americans working on behalf of other Americans. We have stiff competition that we need to rise to the challenge to address. What I would like to do, though, is to have all of us take more confidence in the strength of the American economy and the focus that we are placing on our economic resilience. When you look at our partners in the Indo-Pacific, a lot of what we are trying to do, including in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, is to lead on an agenda to help create more resilience for ourselves, but also in partnership with our partners to create more resilience for them. Right now in that region, the supply chains there are so dominated by and so entangled with Chinese economy and the Chinese supply chains. This is a result of the way we've pursued trade policies. Policies like RCEP, like big comprehensive free trade agreements. They're really in favor of liberalization in a program that has really advantaged the Chinese approach to economic dominance. What we are really laser focused on here at home, and whether it's through USTR, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Treasury, the National Security Council, the National Economic Council, is developing a set of tools and a program for the United States to be able to develop more supply chains that are independent, that run through more different countries, to revitalize our own manufacturing base so that we have more options. In a world that is as volatile and unpredictable as the one that we are in now, we know that we and our allies are better off if we have more options, we have more parallel supply chains. So that's the animating force behind the types of economic engagements, frameworks, agreements that we are negotiating. I know they look different from what came before. But that's really the feature, not the bug, because we need for our economic engagements to produce different outcomes. We need to produce more supply chains that can rebound, more supply chains that run through more places. And that is exactly what we're doing. I'm going to be the first to admit that it's not easy. Getting folks to do something different, to pursue a different program, even when they agree with the objective, is hard work. But that is something where we're only going to succeed if we can work together. I know that you and I share a lot of goals. I hope that we will be able to work together on this set of goals too.
Well, I've already gone over a minute and a half, but I do want to get together with you to talk about Central Asia. Thank you.
Mr. Kustoff.